Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500+ SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts-curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge-sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500+ SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts-curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge-sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
A very good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining in. We still have a few more participants joining in, so we'll start with the session within the next 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in the second day of our GSDC FinOps event. We'll get started shortly within next 2 minutes.
Sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to unlocking endless opportunities for professional growth and success. GSDC is an independent, vendor-neutral, international credentialing and certification organization for professionals. For over 5 years, we have certified the skills of over 100,000 professionals across EMEA, LATAM, APAC, and North America regions. We offer certification in learning and development, human resources, quality assurance, ISO and Six Sigma, emerging technologies, DevOps, SRE, Agile and Scrum, project management. GSDC is proudly accredited with ANSI and ABICB. We have global presence with offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore, and a strong network of over 50 global accredited training organizations.
But how do these certifications contribute to your career growth? GSDC certifications are globally recognized and trusted by many multinational organizations. Our certifications validate your skills and demonstrate your commitment to professional development. GSDC is collaborating with 500 plus SMEs, advisors, and global experts to curate and share best practices with individuals. We validate those skills via experts' curated certification exams. Additionally to that, we also regularly conduct webinars, knowledge sharing sessions, and various complementary learning initiatives to keep learners updated on the best practices and fortify their knowledge. By validating skills, GSDC is addressing the challenges faced by professionals in today's competitive landscape. We bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical expertise, ensuring that individuals are equipped to succeed in their chosen fields. Visit our website to know more about GSDC.
A very good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining the session, and welcome to GSDC Global FinOps event. We will get started with the session now. Let me quickly share my screen. Just give me a couple of minutes. I hope my screen is visible to each and every one of you. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in the second day event for the GSDC Global FinOps Bootcamp. My name is Leki Dema. I am the learning advisor with GSDC, and I'll be the host for the evening today. I also have two more colleagues with me, Imterella and Setulu, who will be available in the chat box throughout the session. So if any one of you have any questions or any doubts related with the session, feel free to use the chat box below. So as I said, this is the second day event. If any one of you have missed out on the first day of our bootcamp, feel free to check our YouTube channel. We have uploaded the recorded version of yesterday's event. And now coming towards today's event, our keynote speaker will walk you through achieving business objective with FinOps. And before I proceed any further, would also like to let you know that we will be going live on our social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn. The links would be provided on the chat box below. I request each and every one of you to share it with your networks if you haven't already. Before I pass on the virtual platform to our keynote speaker for the day, I would like to give a quick introduction about the hosting organization, GSDC, also known as Global Skill Development Council. We are an international vendor neutral certification organization. We have certified more than 90,000 plus professionals worldwide. We have also partnered with 100 plus training organizations across the globe. If you could check in the screen, these are a few of the authorized training partners who have recognized GSDC on the global level. A big shout out to all of our proud patrons. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who is presented on the screen for putting in such a great effort and helping us making this event a huge success. Also would like to take this opportunity to mention our official media partner, WordPress Hub. Thank you so much again for all the effort and all the support which has been provided to us. Thank you so much. This is a few of, these are the GSDC certification program, which is currently in our platform. If anybody is interested to know more about any of the GSDC certification, the website link would already be given on the chat box below. Feel free to check if anyone is interested to learn more about any of the certification. Now, moving forward, we also have the FinOps certification available in our GSDC platform currently. If any one of you is interested to upskill yourself or would like to opt for the GSDC certificate, great news that for all the participants who have joined in, we are giving out the GSDC certification, FinOps certification for 20% discount. Our GSDC certificate also comes with a lifelong membership wherein all the candidates holding the GSDC certificate will get free access to all of our global events, free access to self-paced learning materials, and also a complimentary upgrade to the certificate. Now, before I pass on the virtual platform to our keynote speaker for the day, I would also like to let you know that we will be conducting a very fun and exciting gamification round towards the end of the session. So end of the session for 15 minutes, and few of the lucky winner will be getting a GSDC certificate worth $400. So I request each and every one of you to stay with us till the end of the session. Now, without delaying it any further, I would like to introduce you to our keynote speaker for the day. He has more than 20 years of experience in IT industry, in cloud engineering, service delivery, and business development function across various industries in US and Europe. Passionate about end-to-end journey from on-premise to cloud delivered through cloud strategy, cloud migration, and cloud management. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our keynote speaker for the day, Krishna Prasad Hari. Krishna, over to you whenever you're ready.
Sure. Thanks, Lucky. Thanks for that. And, while I get my screen presented, I just would like to welcome you all for this keynote, and really excited and passionate in terms of sharing what I see as the trend and what I see as some of the current FinOps maturity patterns across the enterprises, and also would like to learn from each one of you in this keynote to be able to understand what is working well, what are some of the best practices, and would like to get perspectives as well. With that said, let me share my screen. Okay, Lucky, are you able to see my screen?
Not yet. Let's give it a couple of minutes.
Okay. Let me share it again.
Krishna, it's not visible. Would you like to share once again? Okay.
Yep. Is it visible now?
It's visible, but it's not in full screen.
Okay. 1 second.
Great, perfect.
Okay. I would need to swap display. Just give me 1 second. About now?
I can see your screen, the presentation. It's not full screen.
Okay. How about now?
It's again not full screen. Krishna, would you like me to share the presentation on your behalf?
Sure. Go ahead.
It's full screen now, but then I think you have to start
Yeah,
the
sure.
slideshow. I hope my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, you can just make it full screen as well.
Okay, great. Is it okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. All right. Thanks, Licky. If you can just move to the next slide. All right. So folks, like I said, I'm really excited to share my perspectives and also get to learn from each other in this keynote, right? The topics which I thought will be very relevant and useful for all of us in this keynote are what we have here, right? One, in terms of looking at why is FinOps very important, right? Let alone the current climate conditions from an economic perspective, but in any market conditions, in any kind of volatile situation, why is FinOps important? Would like to start with that. What are the different ways of getting started with FinOps and how do we practically implement it? What are the framework? What are the guiding principles that are available? Who should be involved in FinOps? What are the different phases to go about achieving FinOps or even doing FinOps within an enterprise? Would like to share some of the frameworks which are already defined. These are not something that was invented overnight. These are existing matured frameworks which are evolving as well over a period of time. Would like to share that as well as number two. The third, while everything looks good from a framework perspective, principles, personas, phases, different set of solutions available in the marketplace, still FinOps is one of the challenging area. Would like to call out some of the key challenges from three-dimensional standpoint, why enterprises struggle in this space, what are the kind of opportunities and how to tackle that as well is what we would like to talk about in the FinOps challenges space. Then the topic more close to my heart is to also look at how do enterprises do FinOps in real world, right? Like what are the practical techniques, suggestions, like best practices, would like to share that as well. And how to get started with FinOps as well is what would like to cover in that particular topic. And last but not least, would like to keep this session very interactive, would like to learn and also get perspectives from what has worked well for you. So through Q&A, I hope we'll be able to do that. So that's the agenda for today's discussion. Thanks, Licky. So why is FinOps kind of gaining a lot of momentum, right? We all have seen the way how cloud has transformed businesses, right? It's not anymore cloud to be looked as a place where you get compute capacity or storage capacity. It has transformed to be a platform from where you can get business capabilities. Now, that's the reality and that's the state of what cloud is and what it means to enterprises. For example, if you want to spin up a contact center, right? Gone are the days where you have to bring up a solution, you have to bring an IVR system in place, and you have to configure infrastructure, network, everything. You can now spin up contact center within minutes, if not in seconds, in cloud, right? Similar to that, if you want to be able to get fraud detection capabilities, those are services that are readily available on cloud. Now, that's the kind of overall capabilities and what businesses can leverage from cloud. So you can see the drastic shift and the evolution of cloud from just being another data center to where you get business capabilities. Now, this is even before the advent of Gen AI within enterprises. We are all still using generative AI for trial and error, for personal assistance, etc. But when generative AI becomes mainstream within enterprise, cloud is going to have a lot more significant role to play as well. Now, given all of this prominence with respect to cloud, but it is a fundamental different operating model and a different consumption model as compared to the traditional on-premise or the data center world, right? In three different ways. Number one, it is a variable spend at very high velocity, meaning, earlier you used to have a data center, a fixed cost, everything as a CapEx. Now that is completely changed towards an OpEx model where you have spend based on usage, spend based on type of service, even spend based on what kind of like upfront purchases you make, or you do everything on demand as well. So there is a lot of variability in the way how cloud services are being consumed. And for some organization, they don't want to be even doing things in an OpEx model. They still have to be comfortable and they're okay in a CapEx model. How do we kind of handle cloud from that kind of scenario perspective is also a challenge. So the number one difference, I would say the fundamental difference in the way cloud is being provisioned and how it's kind of being operated as compared to traditional model is basically the variable spend. That's number one. Number two is basically the decentralized aspect. With the promise of agility, elasticity, and meeting where your customers are in terms of being at the edge. Cloud also offers a lot of decentralized and kind of federated model as well, still in play. But the kind of operating model that you have traditional, where finance and procurement would be able to do all kind of amortization, cost amortization, apportion your hardware cost, or even like to be able to share the cost across the board. Those are the olden days of like, how, you would be able to manage your expense when it comes to cloud, or how you do showbacks, how you do chargebacks, etc. Right? That's completely changed to a more decentralized and a more agile, more nimble kind of a model. And then the third part of it is the scalability, right? There is a lot of services which are instantly provisioned, instantly accessed, and it's also evolving over a period of time. So how do we kind of be prepared to that kind of a scalable model as compared to what you have in the data center, which is more fixed and more static, and you have a regular 3 to 5 years of a refresh period baked into anything that you buy. You're moving from that model to a scalable, on-demand, agile kind of an environment. So this is the reasons why cloud kind of poses a lot of, I would say, challenges when it comes to handling the commercials. And we can move on to the next slide, Nikki. Now, there are very some interesting views, right? If you look at these three pictures, starting with what you see on the left here, you can see that cloud, the services, the line items are very, very complex. Everything is very, very compartmentalized. It's services based. So you really spend for what you use, but those line items can add very quickly. It can become very complex. And if you have done figuring out your cloud bill, good luck, right? You have done a great job and you are technically done a PhD with respect to analyzing your cloud bill and understanding what each of the line items cost, how does that work, and how does it interoperate, etc. The second picture that you have seen here in this slide is basically, once you figure out your resources cost of what you're consuming in cloud, very much good luck with respect to figuring out how does the network and the egress charges cost looks like, right? Because the way how the services connect with each other, how they communicate, how they exchange data, it can be another PhD waiting for you to be obtained when you are able to get on top of that. And the third picture, right, which is not from a wise man, right? Like he has left the resources idle or being used with not the right sizing, and people can at times go bankrupt. Enterprises spend a lot of wastage with respect to the resources not being used. That's the kind of impact on a lighter note with respect to what cloud bills can cost to you, can cost to the enterprises as well. Now, moving on to a very serious note, if you go to the next slide, Lakhi. There are, significant challenges with respect to how the cloud financial management has been a challenge to many of the enterprises. These are some of the metrics and these are some of the trends. These are quantified, right? It's not just what you saw in the previous slide as a qualified, or it's just a subjective feeling about the challenges when it comes to cloud cost. These are metrics, these are hard-coded numbers that tells the state of the cloud financial management challenges and what it brings to the enterprises. Starting with 33%, right? This number is trending towards 1/3 of your cloud spend. Is typically a wastage. Now, the wastage can be through different mechanisms, like you don't have the right sized resources, you don't have the variable spend model used appropriately, you are spending resources, or you're having resources when it's not being used by your end customers, whatever it could be the reason, right? But about 1/3 of your typical cloud bill is a wastage. Now that's a sticker shock for many of the enterprises when they see their cloud bill, when they go and analyze it in a lot more detail. This is the reality that they wake up to, right? And if you look at the other trends, right, the average report of enterprises overspending beyond their budget with respect to cloud is up to 25%, right? So 1/4 of the enterprises spend more than what they budgeted and what they kind of anticipated for their cloud, right? So while the first metric talks about the wastage, the second metric talks about the kind of overspend and the magnification of the problem. Now, why is this important, right? As we move to 2025, right, which is probably right around the horizon, 50% of IT budgets are going to consist of cloud spend, right? So like I said, cloud is becoming a business platform with Gen AI knocking on the door. There is going to be more budgets and more spend happening on cloud. And if you look at the horizon, 50% of the IT spend is going to be consisting of cloud. It's a lot more important to be organized, and it's going to be very critical as well to be efficient, to be able to spend that much money when it comes to cloud. And in fact, in 2023, security has moved down to be the second biggest barrier or focus areas for enterprise to spend on cloud. In fact, FinOps or cloud cost management has become the number one priority for organizations. So as you can see here, 60% of the organization have cloud cost optimization as their top priority. This is overtaken from security. And many of the enterprise also, if you look at the overall EBITDA projection, right, cloud is going to become a significant capability and also a business value differentiator. Like if a company has to value itself, if a company has to go through a transaction, what they have done on cloud, what they have on cloud, and how are their systems, kind of operating on cloud is also going to be an important metric to look at their valuation. So this is on a more serious note, why FinOps and cloud cost management is very, very critical, right? You can move on to the next slide, Nikki. So what is FinOps, right? I think people have different nomenclature, different definitions, and even for convenience perspective, they think FinOps is basically a shorthand, an abbreviation for financial operations. It's left for finance to do it, to be able to reconcile your cloud spend and to be able to pay your hyperscalers. But that's not it, right? This is for us to be all on the same page of definition. What is finance? What is FinOps? It's not financial operations left to one team alone in isolation to be doing it. It is basically a blend of finance and DevOps, right? When we say DevOps, again, it's not about doing a deployment automation or a development automation. It is to look at the life cycle or the continuum of your application or your workload, and to be able to bring the lens of cost and finance in every step of the way. That's basically what I would refer as FinOps, right? And it is kind of putting a lot of emphasis on different teams, whether you're looking at an engineering team, or looking at a business team, or looking at procurement, cloud operations, or cloud CCOE, etc. These teams have to be very strongly collaborating to be able to bring that blend and to be able to solve this problem. And what you get by having FinOps discipline and culture in place in your organization, number one, it enables your organization to be able to get the business value from cloud. It helps your teams also to have the right visibility, the right kind of spend happening on cloud. And more importantly, you would have the right data points as well, because data is one thing that is at the core and at the center of financial operations or FinOps, because when we look at what we spend on cloud, what is the usage on cloud, what is the potential to optimize, everything needs to be backed up by data. So for these reasons, data is very, very critical. And that's what you would be able to leverage when you have FinOps truly implemented, practiced, and even kind of made it as a cultural habit within your ecosystem in an enterprise. Next slide, Licky. So, we all must be thinking, okay, this is such a so important topic. How is it trending in the marketplace, right? You can see from here, right? Both from enterprises searching for FinOps, looking for solutions, looking for people, looking for kind of service providers, looking for basically an avenue where they can solve this cost management challenges. That is what you see on the left side, right? Like the searches of FinOps has grown significantly high, especially over the last, I would say, 3-4 years. With the advent of the pandemic, everyone doing a lift and shift to cloud or kind of adopting cloud in some form or fashion, they are starting to feel the pinch of the pain when it comes to the cost and the expenses going through the roof, and it's not in line with their budget or with their strategy. They're looking to kind of adopt or implement FinOps in some capacity to begin with. That's why you see the search of FinOps going dramatically high over the last few years. Versus if you look at on the right side, right, this is a very interesting metric, right? You would not see FinOps being a career path or even a skill set for many of the people, even few years back, right? Like 2-3 years back. But that trajectory is changing because when you look at the impact somebody doing FinOps can bring within an enterprise is significantly high, because they're straight away saving dollars for their enterprise, or they're kind of doing cost avoidance for their enterprise as well. That's kind of a very good place to be in, because the enterprise-wide recognition that you would get really motivates a lot of folks to be able to think about FinOps as a career path and to be able to obtain FinOps as a skill as well. Now, there are different ways to go about acquiring the skill. We will talk about it in the slides down the line. But this is all the introductions I want to do on FinOps, and I'm going to cover quickly the FinOps framework itself, right? Like what is how to go about doing FinOps within an enterprise. So like I said, there is a well-defined FinOps framework that is established through an industry body called FinOps Foundation. It's been in practice, or it's been in existence for the last 4 years. It's an offshoot of Linux Foundation, and it's getting a lot of thought leadership, a lot of good solutions, plus a lot of even kind of participation and collaboration, because it's a community. People are able to share the perspectives of FinOps. People are able to share what is working well, what are the best practices, and how to go about implementing FinOps within an enterprise, right? So it's kind of working well, and I'm going to share the high-level view of the framework, the kind of personas, the roles, the principles, and even how to go about implementing FinOps or getting to FinOps in a phased manner, right? So if I start with the FinOps principles, the principles are basically, the guiding patterns, or like what needs to be the basics to get started with FinOps. The principles essentially drive FinOps practices within enterprises, right? They recommend teams to be collaborating very heavily, to be able to kind of operate in a shared responsibility model. I'll not go into the details of the principles here. We will look at that in the subsequent slides, but essentially the principles are the North Star or the guiding factors to be able to implement FinOps within an enterprise. Now, if you look at the personas, which is the next click, if you do, Lucky, is it just a one-person mission? Is it just a one-person responsibility? No, right? Like I said, it is going to be across the board. It is across the enterprise. Different people with a different background, with the different responsibilities, have to be able to put their heads together to achieve and to do FinOps within an enterprise. That's why you would see the roles starting from all the way from having the FinOps responsibility individual with a practitioner, with an engineer, or even with an architect, then working with different personas or different groups, whether it's from engineering, from operations, or even from a business perspective, finance perspective, procurement, and even the executives, right? At the end of the day, when you have the right stewardship and the right leadership coming from the top, it makes FinOps a lot more easier. So these are different personas which are getting involved in FinOps. And if you look at the phases, it is basically a flywheel approach that starts with you having full visibility on what you're spending in cloud today. So which is the inform phase. Then it goes through the optimize phase, where you kind of start looking at how do you kind of get better value from a cloud perspective, and how do you operate it as well. So that's basically the three phases of FinOps. It's not an overnight journey. You basically go from the inform phase to optimize phase to operate phase as well, right? So that's basically the approach you would take to go about implementing FinOps, or to even get yourself into FinOps at any point in time. And the last part of it is the maturity, right? Which is the next click, Licky. So, if you look at FinOps, it kind of talks about the approach towards crawl, walk, run. There are, again, different maturity levels, different things that you can ascertain and be implementing within your organization to be able to show that, you're moving from the crawl stage to the walk stage to the run stage. It kind of gives you a progressive journey, right? So that's the idea behind that maturity model. And the most important pillars, right? Like, if you look at these principles, personas, phases, and maturity, how it all comes together, these are through those 6 domains, right? And underneath those 6 domains, you have 18 core capabilities, which kind of tells you how you can go about controlling your cloud cost, and how you can go about optimizing it, and how you can go about operating it as well. So that's in a nutshell, in a summary on the various aspects of the framework. Again, you don't need to reinvent your wheel to start FinOps. You can essentially get started with that framework. Now, if I double click on the principles, right, like I said, FinOps principles basically act as the North Star for you to get, FinOps started within your enterprise and implement the FinOps practice, or even for individuals to get started on where they need to learn, what they need to learn, or what activities they need to be able to do, perform, to be able to get into a FinOps function. These are the list, right? It's basically starting with a very high degree of collaboration, right? When I mean by collaboration, it is basically, having the right kind of inputs and having the right construct to support business teams, finance teams, technology, and engineering teams, right? Now, good collaboration happens, when we have the right data, and when we put data in the path of various teams, right? Traditionally, this used to be the biggest challenge, and it is still one of the biggest impediment when it comes to having FinOps efficiently working, effectively working within an enterprise. So some of the ways to mitigate it is not to treat the various groups like oil and water, but how do we blend them, and how do we collaborate them to be able to look at the bigger picture, the bigger costs for the enterprise getting value from cloud, right? So that's the kind of collaboration model that you would need to implement when it comes to FinOps. And the second part of it is ownership, right? There are different, propositions to be able to bring ownership and responsibility in a shared responsibility model. But at the end of the day, while FinOps promotes a centralized cloud center of excellence or a centralized FinOps team directly having visibility and control of what you spend on cloud, but it is also very important to have the respective product teams, the respective application teams or infrastructure teams taking responsibility of what are they spending on cloud, right? What is their cloud usage? That is the important principle as well, to be able to instill that responsibility at every single team level, at every single cloud account level, at every single cloud resource level. That is going to be key as well. Now, the third principle is primarily around centralization. Now, again, you don't want to be slowing down an enterprise to be able to deploy cloud resources, to be able to turn on cloud services, etc. But in a centralized manner, you create rolling out best practices, you start putting service control policies. Those are going to be the, I would say the guardrails that you would be able to ensure that, the blast radius is very much minimized when it comes to a cost anomaly, usage, or even on the price perspective. But the centralization helps FinOps to bring the right knowledge, to be able to institutionalize and implement the processes, and start looking at automation as well, so that it kind of gets ingrained in every resource and into every team perspective. Now, I've said the data is a very important element. The success or the failure of FinOps primarily relies on the data and then the reporting part, right? And again, practically, there are challenges when it comes to producing hundreds of reports, providing them to various stakeholders about cloud costs, their cloud usage. But in reality, it doesn't do much, right? People are, really fed up and tired by looking at pretty dashboards, pie charts, graphs that tells them like, what is the trend. But, the reporting needs to be provided with the right amount of insights and the right amount of actions, and to be able to bring the right kind of execution capabilities as well. So that is where the reporting part comes into picture. And for the reporting to happen, the 100% accurate data in a timely manner, in a very complete manner, is also very critical. Now, it is also a big challenge to be able to provide the right level of accurate reports, because many of the components from a cloud perspective can be shared at an organization level or at an account level, or it could be a shared resource, right? At the end of the day, for example, if you're looking at containers or if you're looking at network, it could be a shared component that needs to be amortized or split across multiple resources or departments. The reporting has to be accurate, and it has to be able to help to be able to understand the true spend and the right value that individual teams are getting from their cloud spend. Which moves on to the next principle, where is the value, right? So the business value, right? At the end of the day, this is where cloud FinOps and cost management is not just about saving money. It is about gaining value from what you're spending on cloud. And this is where the cloud unit economics becomes a very important topic, which is a whole separate topic. And that is to ensure that your revenue per transaction or your cost per transaction, what you're doing on cloud, is profitable at the end of the day, and you're able to track things at that granular level, and you're able to kind of like make decisions and be better informed when you look at the value that you are getting at that individual line item level. Now, the last point of it is the true value from cloud being leveraged. So the opportunity to take advantage of the variable spend model, and to use things like spot instances or even free tier up to a certain thresholds, all of that, right? And taking advantage of even the pricing models, etc. So there are a lot of opportunities, but however, the complexity is also fairly high. If someone has tried to figure out 2,000 pages of pricing manual on a hyperscaler, services model, good luck, right? I think you have done a great job to be able to understand the complexities, the nuances, but that's the kind of opportunities which are still out there to bring value from cloud perspective. So these are the fundamental pillars, right? Or principles, I would say, what you would need to make sure that you are implementing FinOps with. And this is more of an eye chart to show the various personas, right? Like who needs to be involved when it comes to implementing FinOps within an enterprise. You can be in any of this persona to begin with, and also you can move laterally, like, you can move from engineering to be able to move from a product owner, or you can move from product owner perspective to finance, vice versa, right? It's not a fixed matrix where someone within the finance organization only can go into the ranks and then do FinOps within their ecosystem, right? People move where that is where they bring that cross-functional expertise to be able to understand why it's a challenge to be able to control cloud cost, what needs to be done to bring value from a cloud perspective, and gaining the view from a other lens perspective, like whether it's someone moving from finance to engineering or vice versa, right? Like how does finance do chargebacks? How does finance understand and report the value from a business perspective towards what they're doing on the engineering side? And in the other big gripe that many of the enterprises have is engineering teams do not care much about the cost, right? They spend a lot of their time, their focus and their efforts is all about releasing new features, new functionalities, getting the product out to their end customers. And that has to change, right? When that will happen when you bring finance persona and engineering persona together to be able to say, this is the cost of the product, this is the cost of the service, and how does that bring value to business perspective? Those kind of conversations will strike chords. It will create the right spark and the right kind of ownership within the engineering teams and the finance teams, also able to bring the conversation to life when it comes to finance perspective. And like I said, at the end of the day, it needs to have the right backing from the leadership perspective. So the leadership persona is also very key. Now we have seen a lot of these things, right? Like when it comes to the framework, when it comes to the principles, the personas, how to go about implementing FinOps. Again, this is recommended from the FinOps Foundation perspective in 3 stages. 1, to gain full visibility and to be able to allocate what you're doing from a cloud perspective. So gaining full transparency, doing the anomaly detection. So you have clear line of sight when it comes to what you're spending on cloud, how does it kind of get aligned with your individual product teams, resources, individual business units, etc. And this is also where a lot of the shared resources and the shared cost needs to have a very clear handle. At the end of the day, that needs to get amortized or even apportioned when it comes to the rest of the resources which are using it, right? So the inform phase is a very critical activity, and this is also where a lot of enterprises get surprised when they see they turn on a tool or they turn on a recommendation engine. They get a lot of insights, right, to be able to know what they're spending, where they're spending, how they're spending, which goes to the next phase of optimization. So when it comes to the optimization, again, there are three major lenses that you can look at optimization from. One, low-hanging fruits perspective, the usage optimization, meaning if you have over-provisioned certain resources or you are kind of like not using some resources, all of those are the candidates which are very simple and straightforward. You don't need to make a change to your engineering, to your product, to the code, to the architecture. You should be able to look at optimizing the usage part of it. Thereby, you'll be able to save cost, save money, and then to be able to get value from cloud. That's number one. That's the first lever. The second lever when it comes to optimization is purely on the rate, the pricing part of it. Now, when you do everything as an on-demand, you're going to definitely pay more price because it is meant to have that scalability and that elasticity brought in from cloud. But when you do know a predictive usage, like you're going to be able to say, this workload, this application, this server is 24/7. It has a constant usage. I can reserve this capacity with the hyperscaler. Then you would be able to provide, you'll be able to give them upfront commitment. You also in turn get up to say, 50% or 60% discount from your on-demand pricing model. It kind of goes for even further high when you move to spot instances, but they do bring challenges with respect to stateful conditions, availability, etc. But there are different pricing optimization that you can do once you're able to bring the usage to the right level. Now, the third tier or the third lever from an optimization perspective is on the architecture standpoint. Now, many of the enterprises have done a lift and shift, but there is opportunity in many of their workloads, many of their cloud ecosystems to be using cloud native services more as compared to just being cloud hosted. So that's where the architecture potential do come in, but it has kind of a long cycle to be able to understand, to be able to get the design review, to be able to get the architecture approved, and to ensure that that kind of architecture moving to a more cloud native model will work or not. But that is one of the other levers when it comes to optimizing your cloud workloads. So once you gain visibility and once you are able to optimize what you're running on cloud, the third phase is going to be, if you can just move back to the previous slide, Lucky. The third phase is to operate your cloud workload, right? Which is where, again, many of the enterprises do struggle because there is ultimately no one taking responsibility when it comes to cloud cost, monitoring it on a regular basis, reporting anomalies, reporting kind of overspend. And this is where the shared responsibility model comes into picture. And from what I've seen effectively working in many enterprises, when you monitor and operate the cloud workloads along with FinOps focus, it brings a single pane of glass in terms of the availability, performance, and cost. All of this kind of provided to you in a single window. That helps you to operate the cloud workloads at the right level of cost points. And also you're able to bring the right continuous improvement and evolution of your cloud services, because cloud services, we all know, it keeps changing at rapid pace, right? There are new services, there are new tiers, there are new pricing models that keeps evolving, right? And you have to look out for what's changing, what you can do to adopt those best practices and to keep up with pace on the cloud services evolution as well. So that's the overall list of phases. If we can move to the next slide, Nikki. Now, where should you start, right? Like, you have seen the various phases, you have seen the various principles, the personas, but if you have to really furthermore drill down and to say, now, how do we kind of do it in a more grounds up manner, right? Like, what are the kind of areas I need to focus? What kind of capabilities I should be able to develop? And what I need to mature or what I need to automate instrument, and to be able to bring the right data points, etc. These are the 6 domains, right? Like it starts with understanding your cloud usage and cost, which is the inform phase activity, I would say. Then when it comes to the optimization phase, this is where the performance tracking and benchmarking, right? Now, when we looked at the optimize phase earlier, we did spend the topic more so towards the optimization on rate, usage, and architecture. But when you think about broadly, right, you should also be able to do a benchmarking, right? Like what are your industry peers paying for the similar kind of services, for your similar kind of services, for similar kind of application, or even the similar capabilities, right? Do you get a private pricing agreement rather than just getting everything from a list price? And how do you kind of set your budgets? Those are the kind of performance tracking and benchmarking efforts you can do. And it's a capability area by in itself where you will be able to bring right kind of solutions, right kind of data points, right level of automation and reporting as well to be able to do this in a fairly mature way. And the third dimension is to be able to, we have spoken about the optimization on the rate and then the usage part, right? Now, that is more practical and pragmatic through the right amount of data, through the analysis, by able to do showbacks and to do, provide commitments, right? Like when you commit to the usage, whether you're committing on the tenure or you're committing on the capacity, you do get kind of a discount from the hyperscalers as well. So taking advantage of that as well is another important dimension. So that is on the rate optimization and then the usage optimization. And then the last 2 domains, it is to be able to bring various personas together and align them from an organization perspective. Everybody looks at the same data repository, right? And everybody gets meaningful insights, not just reports that are being slapped in front of them, or not just mailbox being hit with a bunch of reports, but truly meaningful insights, right? From the data points, from the metrics, and with the right amount of correlation in terms of what does it mean to business. That's the set of domain that is focused on bringing capabilities to have real-time decision enablement done, plus also to be able to move the organization towards implementing FinOps in a cultural way. So that's the summary of domains and capabilities. If we can move to the next slide. Now, this is a very interesting topic, right? That is kind of emerging, in the FinOps space. If people thought, FinOps is about saving money and it's kind of like just turning off resources, deploying a tool to be able to give them a report, while we need to have the tool to be able to provide the data and then the reporting, but it is ultimately moving towards measuring the economics of your cloud, right? And like I said, for example, if you're an Uber, right? Or one of the ride sharing company, how do you kind of know what is it costing per ride, right? That's the kind of metric that they would be interested to measure, and they would be already be measuring, hopefully, right? Now they would probably be also measuring the revenue per ride as well, right? So if you think about it at that granular level, how do you bring your cloud cost to the same lens to be able to know what is the revenue per transaction, cost per transaction, revenue per release, or cost per release, right? Like what are you getting from business perspective as a value for everything that you're using cloud for and everything that the cloud touches as well. Now, that is the ultimate goal and ultimate North Star of implementing unit economics within your ecosystem. So everything is bound by data, everything is bound by business outcomes and business value. And it is very important because you would be able to correlate everything from a individual technology cost, application cost, cloud resources cost to what is relevant for the organization at the highest level, right? And also you would be able to use that to predict and adjust based on your business demands, right? Like for example, you're going to get into a holiday season or a peak season period, you are going to expect more transactions. So you can model your cloud cost and you can model your business demand, and you can scale up and scale down accordingly as well. And when you think about Gen AI, for example, right? Everybody is talking about Gen AI these days. What is the impact of Gen AI? Why should you do Gen AI? What kind of use cases you have for Gen AI? Those kind of things can be modeled when you have the right unit economics in place to know this is the use case, this is the cost of that particular use case delivered today with or without AI, right? And it is on cloud. What does that look like when it comes to implementing Gen AI? How is cloud contributing, etc.? That's the kind of dimensions you can think about unit economics when it's fully implemented within an enterprise. And it's complex, right? It's not easy or it's not straightforward, because you would need to take up all of your charges, all of your consumption models, consumption patterns, and to be able to arrive at the right mapping between your technology resources to the services, and to be able to even link it to business transactions. It is complex, but at the end of the day, this should be the North Star or the true metric that you need to be able to drive FinOps with. We can move to the next slide, Nikki. So, this is the fun part, right? What are the real world challenges, right? What kind of impediments are there for enterprises? What keeps them awake at night, right? If you look at the real world challenges, these are some of the things, right? But in summary, if I look at it in 3 dimensions, one, like I said, tools and data sources, right? Given the complexity is fairly high, gone are the days where you have your 3-stack or your complete stack running in your on-premise. Everything is kind of bundled within your data center. Your cost is all CapEx, it's all amortized. It's easy to be able to do chargeback. It's easily able to do kind of like capacity planning. But with cloud, right, the complexity increases, and the businesses also require numerous data sources, numerous tools, or even platforms to be able to do this at a more granular level. I can give one example here, right? Like when you look at, we saw the example on the network cost. Similar to that, if you look at containerization technology, right? How do you kind of like look at the cost at a pod level, or even the cost at an individual Kubernetes cluster level, to be able to predict that, this is the cost per application, this is the cost per app workload or per service. That's the kind of challenge that are there in real world, right? Enterprises struggle to do a true kind of simplification of their consumption, and to be able to do the right amount of cost allocation by workload or by application or by product teams, right? That's number one challenge. The second challenge is with respect to collaboration, right? I think, like I said, who takes responsibility of cost within an enterprise? And if it's a shared responsibility model, it's always a challenge, right? Security used to be the biggest challenge, while security is now more centralized, and it's more kind of like federated, and it's institutionalized across the enterprise. Cloud cost is the next one, in my view, to be able to get to that level and to be getting more institutionalized and implemented across the board. So collaboration is one of the challenges in a real world perspective. Now, management, right? This is where, we have seen a lot of enterprises struggling with respect to bringing the right stewardship, the right cost management, because everybody wanted to move at the pace of launching new products, business agility. Everybody wants to leverage the promises of cloud, right? But when it comes to putting the right guardrails, putting the right policies in place, and promoting the right culture, and making sure that cost is an important element as compared to in line with the other elements as well, in terms of availability and performance. Management teams owning it and setting that as the culture and setting that as the institutional process, that is a very important area. But that's another area where enterprises struggle with. So this is the summary. I'll just quickly go through each one of them, probably in a bit more detail. We can move on to the next slide, Vicky. Yeah, so tools and data sources, right? This is a very interesting metric to look at, right? On an average, enterprises spend or they have about close to 5 tools to just give them visibility, to give them optimization potential, and also to be able to operate on cloud, right? I've listed some of the tools here. The list goes on forever, right? And it's very interesting because there are a lot of capabilities, a lot of data sources which the hyperscalers do provide themselves, which is what you would see here in this slide. When it comes to planning your cloud cost, when it comes to doing the actual billing or the reporting to do chargebacks, and everybody looks at tagging to be the fundamental to be able to enable the right kind of mapping between your resources to the services and to the business outcomes as well. But there are challenges in terms of getting the tagging done as well on the ground. And then from a forecasting perspective, there are a bunch of hyperscaler provided tools and data sources as well. So when you kind of look at this in totality, right? Like, and if you are in a single cloud, probably it's okay. But if you're in a multi-cloud or if you're in a poly-cloud ecosystem, it gets very, very complex to be able to bring all of these data sources and do the right kind of correlation and the right kind of data management to be able to analyze and to be able to provide that insights. That is why, FinOps number one challenge, I would say, to me, is the data and then the tool for providing the right visibility and to be able to do the right optimization. And by the way, there are plenty of tools, right? When it comes to doing optimization, for example, there is a tool just for doing the usage optimization. There is a tool just for doing pricing optimization, only on one hyperscaler. So, the tool basket can become very big. And if you don't have it like a FinOps platform that you decouple and you kind of like bring in the right kind of automation and the best of breed solutions for each one purpose or use case, it can go out of control and you're going to be left with no data, no visibility, and no automation. So that's on the tools part. We can move to the next slide. I think why is collaboration and management a big challenge, right? I think in line with the tools and data. I think what I have seen is like basically we have seen engineering teams focusing a lot on releases and deploying new capabilities, getting new features, functionalities, or even fixing bugs for that matter, right? That is where engineering teams are primarily measured or primarily being tasked. But if you look at taking cost optimization or even the lens from a FinOps perspective and putting that as a priority and telling engineering teams to say, you got to be able to optimize cost, right? As compared to developing new capabilities. That has not gone very well. And able to empower engineers or getting them to take actions has been one of the biggest challenge when it comes to impediments when it comes to having FinOps implemented to the right collaboration and through the right management challenges. Unit economics, we saw how it's kind of what value it can bring, but to be able to granularize and to be able to kind of do the right apportionment and to be able to do the right correlation, that's also a second challenge. But there are other impediments as well when it comes to mobilizing an organization and making them to be able to take note of the wastage. While the obvious data points are there, like 30% of the cloud bills are a wastage, but getting the organizations to take action, right? Whether it's engineering team or it's an operations team, those are some of the biggest challenges. And the last, which is the critical pillar, is getting the leadership buy-in to implement FinOps, right? I have personally seen leadership kind of like not reacting, responding to begin with when they are migrating to cloud, when they're operating to begin with on cloud. But then when they see the spend going up, they suddenly react and they respond to say, you know what, we need to implement FinOps. We need to be able to kind of save money because it's already blown our budget. But that kind of initiative and that kind of view has to be applied as part of the cloud strategy, as part of like how their spend starts to trend, even when they are in the initial days of cloud. And, by size or by scale as well, you can see the challenges. When it comes to large enterprises, it's implementing FinOps governance policy at scale in a more centralized manner, because these organizations do have, they need great autonomy. And that's one of the reasons why you move to cloud as well. So implementing FinOps in a centralized manner is a huge challenge. And when you look at, enterprises who are spending 10 to 100 million in cloud, to be able to implement that unit economics, right? And to be able to centrally address resource wastage or idle resources, that's a challenge. And for smaller organizations, because they don't have the skill sets, they don't have the capability or the capacity, adopting FinOps in a holistic view has been the challenge as well. So this is, in summary, the view from other dimensions on what are the challenges apart from the tools and data. If you go to the next slide. Now let me talk about FinOps in practice, right? We have seen the challenges, we have seen the framework, but if you look at how do we start implementing FinOps, or what are the practical techniques and kind of hacks, I would say, that has worked? Here is my point of view, right? Like, number one, start with aligning the value, right? What is cloud going to bring to business, right? That needs to be the number one starting point for any conversations, right? And if that has to set the tone, it has to kind of like provide the overall directions in terms of why is cloud being used, how it's going to be used. Can we start measuring and linking the overall ROI or even the outcomes from a cloud perspective towards the business, right? So it starts from there, right? When that is ingrained, when that is kind of like imparted as part of the cloud strategy, FinOps becomes a more easier and a more manageable value proposition as compared to making it as a reactive or a retrospective application of FinOps within your cloud ecosystem. Then the second principle that I've seen is to be able to make any kind of FinOps implementation an engineering-centric approach, right? Now, what I mean by that is like, you can, of course, go and do one-time correction, one-time usage optimization of your cloud, one-time pricing optimization, etc., right? But unless and until this is architecture-based, meaning, you're able to kind of like start optimizing, being more and more in cloud native, automation in every step of the way. And also you've seen so many tools, right? You have to look at decoupling the tools, the orchestration and the processes. When you do that, you are more tuned towards handling any kind of scale when it comes to cloud usage, and also any change in technology. A tool today can be a best, but tomorrow it could be replaced by some other tool. You don't have to kind of be left hanging to make that change, right? When you decouple that processes, tools, and orchestration, you would be able to handle that kind of change as well. Third is basically to keep the different personas, right? We have seen the usual personas and the people that are required to be able to implement FinOps. But at the end of the day, while we do this from an alignment perspective and an engineering perspective, keeping them and also keeping the business processes and business outcomes, right, is a very critical dimension to be able to achieve success when it comes to FinOps. And then the last part, in a shared responsibility model, we've all seen that, it's very hard to get collective ownership and individual responsibility taken. But some of the recommendations I would make here is to have a simplified, well-defined key performance indicators, key result areas, and even like objectives being proposed. And all of this needs to be driven from a gamification perspective, right? To be able to say, at the end of the day, you go to a leaderboard within an enterprise if you're taking good control and good responsibility of your cost, or you kind of like be called out if you're not taking the right responsibility or the right initiative to optimize your cost as well. So that kind of a gamification, more through a quantified approach and also through a qualified mechanism of OKRs, KPIs with metrics, that kind of works well as well when it comes to implementing FinOps within an enterprise. Next slide. Now, getting a little bit technical, right? And also to be able to just map out what goes on from a lifecycle perspective within an application or within a workload moving into cloud or kind of getting changed in cloud. I would look at these phases, and I would look at these kind of capabilities or enablers to be brought in from a FinOps perspective, starting from business requirements, right? Like the business requirements, when can you start doing the unit economics right at the level of business requirements? Can you map your cloud services towards the business services and outcomes? It becomes a very important element, right? And you also start looking at getting the dashboard view established here by making sure that what is relevant for business, what kind of inferences can be drawn from the data, and how analytics can be powering decisions. Those are the kind of critical things that you establish as you are putting the business requirements together. And the second thing when it comes to architecture is to look at, optimization-based architecture, right? While everybody looks architecture to help addressing the functional requirements and some of the non-functional requirements in terms of performance, availability, even kind of scalability, etc. But cost is a very important element to look at when it comes to architecture as well. So can you provide cost view and make it as a lead indicator at this stage, right? Is a very important element. And you also start looking at what kind of data, what kind of tools, what kind of data sources you're going to be able to leverage to be able to provide visibility of cost, even as you kind of like architect that particular service. Those are the kind of things that you establish at the architecture stage. And when you have all of that in place, you get the approval or the kind of permit or the go ahead to be able to start doing your build, right? That kind of checks and balances, that kind of service control policy will bring a lot of, kind of control to be able to implement FinOps in a more structured way and early on in the process as compared to you catching up. Once that architecture is finalized, then you go towards procuring the cloud services, or you kind of like go about enabling the cloud services. This is where we have seen, Cloud Center of Excellence, or like, Cloud Business Office taking that responsibility, but providing them the right data points on like, what kind of services should be procured. Should this be procured by paying upfront, or by kind of like no upfront payment, something partial, or, completely leveraging savings plan, or even doing things as compared to on demand. All of that has to be thought through and considered as part of the procurement phase. Then when you procure the services, you start going towards deploying them. So this is where also some of the brownfield applications can come into play. Like, you are migrating an existing applications from on-premise to cloud, or you're building something net new, or you're modernizing. You start going through the kind of same checklist, but you look at it more from a lens of comparing and contrasting what is there today on-premise perspective. You don't want to take the same mess for less approach to be able to move these workloads to cloud. But how do you build best practices, and how do you look at the dashboard to give the right amount of insights? That is another important element when it comes to the build, migrate, or modernization stage. Now, the last and then the important stage last but important stage is on the operate side, right? Like, this is where operations team is not, the custodians of your cloud spend. They are predominantly monitoring, managing, flagging, and enabling new services evolution, right? If you just leave them to be custodians of your cloud cost, good luck. They are going to simply be running from pillar to post between engineering teams and between product teams, business teams to handle cloud cost. They are not going to be successful in reducing the cloud bill. So the buck should not stop with the operate team or the finance team when it comes to optimizing and to be able to managing the cloud spend, right? It has to be a shared responsibility in every step of the way. That's going to be the recipe for success, and that is what is going to make everyone to be constantly communicating, collaborating, and working towards the joint goal of implementing FinOps and achieving value from cloud. Next slide. So where does FinOps stand today, right? Like, there are some data points. Would like to provide factual and metrics-based evidences of the opportunity that is all in front of us, right? When it comes to taking a career path on FinOps, by getting certified, or by investing your time and developing the skills, the competencies, the capabilities, or even solving these problems for your enterprises, right? So large enterprises are really adopting FinOps in a very big fashion, I would say, because they have realized that the complexity is huge, and there is a lot of coordination, a lot of collaboration required to be able to bring visibility into cost, and also to be able to manage it for future growth as well. And like many of us here, right? People who are now looking at FinOps as a career path, that's different from what it was earlier, right? And here, one input or one suggestion that I would have is to basically look at how we can have the technology background or the flair to be able to understand the consumption model or the services, and to be able to bring value from a financial perspective is going to be very important. So if you have a technology track, if you have a career path, which is more so from a cloud engineering perspective, from a DevOps perspective, that's great, right? It's going to help you to be more relevant, more meaningful, and very impactful as well when it comes to FinOps. So that is the other thing I would say. And still, enterprises are mostly in the run state. When it comes to crawl, walk, run, they are reaching run state, but it's going to take a long time for them to be mature in the run state. That's where only 15% of the organizations are at that stage of maturity, right? And FinOps is growing, right, on a periodic basis, where the average FinOps team has grown, has doubled technically, and it's expected to grow more as well in the coming years. Now, not sure about you guys, but all of us should be very excited about the potential when it comes to FinOps, and what this has got in store for us as an opportunity and as a career path here. Next slide. That's my last slide, where I want to just provide some views on. I myself have taken the practitioner certification, how I find it, and what kind of views I have, it's a great start to be able to get to talk about the same nomenclature, get to understand the value from a FinOps perspective. But it gets a lot more interesting when you have the technology background, and then when you go more and more deeper as part of the FinOps certified professional as well. And there are different personas-based training as well. If I understand right, the professional training is purely a lot more advanced. It can help you to think of implementing FinOps or even doing FinOps within your enterprise, either as an engineer or as a finance person or as an executive as well. And you can come from other background like procurement and product as well. But it's a very interesting field. In fact, there is a gamified approach as well. When you think about implementing FinOps, how do you bring value to cloud within your enterprise? Those are the avenues I would recommend taking to be able to get into the bandwagon or the journey of FinOps and bring value for your enterprises. That's basically what I had for today. I know I've been on a long presentation path. I would like to take some questions or probably get some feedback as well.
Thank you so much, Krishna, for that very detailed and a very informative session. I'm sure each and every one of you found the session to be very inspiring and motivational. So we are now open for the Q&A session. I do see a few of the questions coming up already on the chat box, if you would like to answer some of them.
Sure, let me just bring it up. Right. Yeah, I see a question first from, okay. Yeah, I do see a question first from Ankit. How do we set KPIs for FinOps department? So for FinOps department, I think the KPIs are going to be like, how are they able to get again value from what they're spending, right? It could start from there to be able to know what they're spending, how are they spending, are they doing things on demand, are they planning, are they able to be under their budget? There are well-defined KPIs from that perspective, but from a finance organization standpoint, I would look at, again, finance being finance. What are they spending? Are they getting value from it? What are they kind of, doing from a business outcome perspective as well? Those are the KPIs I would say finance team can start tracking from a cloud perspective. It's going to be hard, but it can be done through the unit economics. It can also be done through the right amount of cost allocations, chargebacks, etc. So that would be my approach in terms of finance departments having the KPIs. The second question is, how often should we review and adjust cost optimization strategies? Great question. So, I don't think, if you leave this to be done at a certain period, like a week or month, would it be okay? I've seen enterprises, large enterprises especially, they provide a daily dashboard of how the anomalies or how the usage are reported. In fact, this is a large retailer that is in the US. They kind of like have a process plus a mechanism where the FinOps team be able to provide a more granular report and detailed analysis plus insights to every single product team at the end of the day as to how their cloud cost has changed, whether it's gone up or it's gone down. It kind of starts making them think about what has happened just in that particular day. Because, if it's in fresh in memory, they can quickly go back and look at the analytics. They can quickly go back and look at the business volume transactions or what has happened in terms of the previous day. That's the kind of frequency I would say some of the large enterprises have successfully adopted. In my view, if they can do it, others can do it as well. But if you're a more stable organization, if your workloads are more kind of like static, if it's more for B2B as compared to B2C kind of usage, you can set other frequencies as well. But I've seen as low as having a daily review of your cost optimization, cost kind of spend, how does it look like and how does it trend as well. So that's on the cost optimization review. And yep, what are the Azure native tools, right? I think I had that probably in one of the slides, right? Like, starting from Azure Monitor to all the way up to Azure Advisor to well architecture review. There are a lot of tools which are hyperscaler native capabilities to be able to give you, information, data, plus the analytics when it comes to what you're spending on cloud, and also how the trend has been, right? But one thing I would say, the hyperscaler provided tool sets and then the information, they are good when it comes to the usage optimization, but you would need to look at probably other sources, or you would need to couple this with other sources when it comes to the architecture optimization, whether you can move to a more cloud native stuff. While some of that might come from a well architecture review perspective, but even so also from the pricing optimization perspective, those things probably you would have to rely on the other tool sets not provided by the hyperscalers. What kind of people fall under procurement personas? Very interesting questions, right? Like, typically we have seen the traditional IT procurement persona moving up, or like, doing cloud procurement as well. People who used to procure data center services, hardware services. I've seen from those kind of side to move to cloud procurement as well. People who are procuring SaaS services are now into the hyperscaler procurement side of it as well. People who have done even tools and COTS product procurement, they have moved into the procurement persona when it comes to FinOps as well. There are no restrictions, right? At the end of the day, if you're able to understand the pricing manual, good luck, right? If you're able to do that with respect to that exhaustive 2,000 pages pricing manual, you would be a solid procurement persona. But I've also seen where people from engineering perspective or people from operations perspective do very well when it comes to procuring cloud resources and negotiating on the private pricing agreements as compared to the public ones, etc. So those are the kind of personas that you can think about from a procurement standpoint. Which is the most mature tool in the industry, right? I'm not biased to any one tool, but I would say that there are specific tool sets for specific use cases. There is probably very few tools that can do anything end to end when it comes to the design, architecture to operate phase of FinOps. You have to look at best in class or best in breed tool sets. And when you implement that in the lifecycle continuum, like I said, from the design, architecture, design, build, deployment, or even the operate, you would be able to have mature tool sets within your enterprise, right? They may not be mature in the industry. You don't have to worry about it. But when you implement it in that manner, and then you decouple it from the processes and then the orchestration, you have a mature estate, and you have a lot of automation in your ecosystem. That is what I would recommend. I'm from Azure background, Azure infra background. How do I get into FinOps track and what to get training sessions? So I would say starting with knowing the Azure services and getting into FinOps practitioner track would help Karthik to be able to get into the details of FinOps and to be able to actively play a role, right? If you're from the Azure infrastructure background, you probably have a very good overview of the services. You will be able to kind of like leverage to know how does that cost, how does that kind of trend, all of that. So that could be a good starting point to leverage your experience to do FinOps within your enterprise. And
Krishna, I do have a few more questions coming in directly to me. I would like to ask this on behalf of one of the participants.
Sure.
Where is the place of project manager in this FinOps value chain?
Yeah, good question. So I would say the project managers are typically playing the role of a product manager, product owner, or typically an engineering lead, or even typically on the operations side, right, or even on the procurement. So a project manager has to orchestrate and to coordinate end to end, right, across the full value spectrum when it comes to FinOps. That is the kind of role I would say the project manager can play, or the project manager will also be able to bring value when it comes to FinOps, right? It's not just about coordinating the tasks, but also to know whether the FinOps processes are being followed, they are being adhered, and by even kind of getting the relevant metrics validated, right? That could be the role of a project manager to bring FinOps to life within an enterprise, whether you're doing a development project or you're doing kind of like a migration project, you can understand the cost implications of what you're doing, or have a tab on that and challenge the respective teams, whether it's the CCOE teams or it's the cloud operations team or even the product teams as well. That's the value and that's the role that they can play when it comes to being a project manager.
Thank you so much for that detailed answer, Krishna. We are still open. We still have a couple of more minutes for the Q&A session. So once again, requesting everyone to use the chat box if you have any questions. In the meanwhile, I do see a few more questions coming in from our live viewer as well. So if you could answer some of them, I will read it out for you. I have the first question as, how can organization align their FinOps practice with specific business objective to optimize cloud cost management and drive financial efficiency in 2023?
Oh, fully loaded question. I would say start with the unit economics, right? If you're able to understand the business transactions, the cost per transaction, the revenue per transaction, because I would say cloud playing a part of providing the resources, providing the infrastructure is going to change fundamentally to providing those capabilities natively as well, which makes it easier to be able to track the value that cloud provides for those scenarios. But unit economics would be a great place to start, and that is what is going to, bring value for the enterprises, right? At the end of the day, because when that visibility is there, everything kind of falls in line to be able to know: are we spending the right amount? Is this bringing value? Do you have control on optimizing this, or how do you kind of maintain and manage, etc. Right? Everything becomes a kind of an easier follow-on exercise to know if your business strategy and if your unit economics are in place.
Great, thank you so much. I hope that answers the questions. We will take the last question for the Q&A session. Just a second. Sorry about that. All right. I do have a long one. What are the key challenges that businesses might face when implementing FinOps-driven cloud cost management, and what strategies or best practices can help overcome these challenges to achieve their business goals?
Yeah, the challenges, like outlined, to implement FinOps is to get the leadership buy-in, to be able to have the right amount of collaboration in place, to have the right tool sets, and to, if you're operating in a single cloud, probably that's a lot more straightforward. But if you're operating in a multi-cloud ecosystem, building the kind of dashboards, setting up the right visibility, and to be able to apportion the cost and allocate them, all of that could be a challenge, right? While technology and tools are one set of challenges, the other set of challenges in terms of collaboration and in terms of management, which is what we covered. And to overcome that, again, I would look at it, starting from implementing FinOps in every step of the way, in every life cycle stages, and also to be able to do this in a more granular manner, to be able to do this from the inform, optimize, and operate phase, right? I think those are the methods, the frameworks that we have seen today. Those would be my recommendation to implement FinOps for a successful outcome from a cloud perspective.
Great, Krishna. Thank you so much again for that detailed answer. With that, we have now come to an end of our Q&A session. I request each and every one of you to join our LinkedIn group if any of your questions were unanswered. So with that, once again, Krishna, I would like to thank you on behalf of our entire GSDC team on being such a huge part of this event and delivering such an inspiring and a motivational event. Do you have any last words for the audience from your end?
No, I'm, I want to thank GSDC for giving me this opportunity as well to share my perspective and also to learn from the questions, right? I think it's very insightful, and some of them are very very good questions. I would like to probably look at them and reach out to folks and to catch up and share and get their perspectives as well. But it's a very interesting field, right? It's very dynamic. It's kind of the most critical and most I would say important at this juncture for enterprises going through cloud journey, migration to cloud, or even implementing GenAI within enterprises, right? For all of that puts a lot of focus and a lot of need for enterprises to do FinOps in the right way. That was where I think it's a very exciting opportunity, and happy to be a part of this community to learn and to share as well. So thank you so much, GSDC, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Krishna, for those kind words. Now, without delaying it any further, we will begin with the gamification round. So for the gamification round, I would request Setulu. She would be the one who would be hosting the gamification round. So I would like to request her to take over whenever she is ready.
Thank you, Lekki, for the time, and thank you, KP, for an amazing presentation there. And also thank you to all the participants for being with us here. As you already know, we always do our gamification round, and we present 3 vouchers to our 2 winners. If all the participants are here, I would request everyone to please click on the link, which will be shared on the chat box, and join the session. Today we will be playing another game called Jeopardy, which I will explain shortly. And the link is shared on the chat box. Please click on it and join the session. Please sign up. Those who have been here yesterday, that have played, and you already know what gamification is. Those who are new, gamification is obviously a very trending micro-learning process right now. And we are so glad that our partner, that is Novel Vista, decided to send us their platform. So thank you so much to our partner, Novel Vista, as well. The link is shared on the chat box. Please click on it and do sign up for the game. We will start shortly. Lekki, can you go to the next slide, please? So if you click on the link, you will see this page, login, but you do not have to log in. You can just sign up. Even if you have played yesterday, you can just go ahead and sign up. So click on sign up. After signing up, you will see, after clicking on sign up, you will see the page with first name, last name, email, and session ID. So today's session ID is 1378. Please enter the session ID 1378 after you sign up. Also make sure that your email is the proper email that you have, because that will be the email that we will be reaching out to you when if you win. So do sign up. If you have any issues there, do let us know. Once you sign up, you will see this dashboard with 2 games. So today we will be playing Jeopardy, and once you are ready, you can click on it. We have already started the registration. I already see some people have already joined the game. So if you are still pending, do join on it quickly. We will start shortly. I will explain the game to you in the meantime. So this Jeopardy, when I start the game, it will have 9 blocks with different numbers. The numbers represent the points that you will get if you answer the questions correctly. So if you get 1 chance to answer the questions, so make sure that you read the questions properly and answer it accordingly. Once you click on any number, you will get the questions in the MCQ format, and you can answer the questions. Remember that you have only 1 chance. So 9 blocks, meaning you have nine tries for the questions, and only 1 chance to answer. Also, please do not refresh your browser when you are playing, as that will refresh your whole game. So I do see that a lot of people have joined. If you are still pending, please sign up immediately. We'll wait for a minute before we start this game. If you are facing any issues, please let us know on the chat box. You can see the link on the chat box. If you are facing any issue there, you can click on it and sign up immediately. If you are facing any issue, let us know in the chat box. We will be ready to help. All right, the game has started and you have 2 minutes to finish this game. Please click on any of the blocks that you see and accordingly you will get the points. You have 2 minutes to this game and 9 questions and only one chance to answer the questions. 3 winners will be selected according to the highest points and the time taken to answer. One minute and few seconds left for the quiz. Do try to score your highest points. If you were unable to register for this game, we are sorry for the inconvenience, but you can try again on our next event. A few more seconds left for this game. 50 seconds left. Make sure that you do not refresh the browser. Do feel free to leave us your takeaways of the presentation and also about this gamification on Trustpilot. We will be sharing the link on the chat box. And once the game is over, I would request all the winners or one of the winners to unmute themselves and also share with us their experience. All right, we have 8 seconds left. Let me do the countdown for everyone here. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm ending the quiz here. Thank you so much for playing. You can see the results on the screen here. And we have 3 perfectly scored winners here, all the same scores. However, we will be going according to who scored the highest according to their time. So we have Suharsh at 1 minute 58 seconds. That would be the first winner. The second winner does with 2 minutes and 3 seconds, and the third winner at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. The rest of the players can see your points on the leaderboard here itself or on your dashboard itself as well. So thank you so much for joining. Can I request any one of the winners to show us your screen and your face and also share about your experience? Anyone who would like to volunteer for sharing this? Suharsh, Arunava and Kedar, would any one of you volunteer to speak on behalf of the winning team? All right. I think I see Soharsh here on the list. Maybe I'll ask you to unmute.
Yeah, hi, this is Suraj here. Sorry, I was having trouble in unmuting myself, but thank you so much. I think the session, especially today, I found it to be very insightful. It's giving a peek into how FinOps is emerging as a promising area within cloud, and how there is much more to not only optimizing cost and eliminating wastage, but so many more techniques and levers in which we techniques that can actually be adopted right from the beginning of the cloud journey in order to bring more value out of cloud. I think it was really insightful session. I'm looking forward for more such insightful sessions going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Soharsh. Would you like to show us your face before you leave?
Oh yeah, I was not able to sort of unmute or turn on the video, but
No
I don't
worries.
know. I'm having issues in.
Okay, no
Uh,
worries. No worries. We will reach back to you again with more details about your winning voucher, as well as our Nava and Keta. We will reach back to you again. And again, thank you so much to everyone who played. And we will be having all these gamification rounds again in the near future as well. So thank you so much for always being with us. Do feel free to share your takeaways and your feedbacks with us on Trustpilot. We have shared the link there with us. I hope everyone enjoyed. And with this, Lakey, I request you to come over again and do the closing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Setulu, for that great and fun gamification round. And a big congratulations to all the winners. Now, quickly moving forward, we will be conducting a podcast on the upcoming month, that is on the month of October, Tech Talk by GSDC. So would like to request each and every one of you to stay connected with us. The the contact details are already left on the chat box below, so feel free to visit our website or stay connected with us through LinkedIn for more details on on all of our upcoming events. Follow us on LinkedIn. You can also join our exclusive community LinkedIn groups and ask your questions. If any one of your questions were left unanswered, do visit our website for more details on all of our certification. And we would also like to hear all of your takeaway from today's session. So feel free to leave your kind words on Trustpilot. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We'll hopefully see you on our upcoming event. Thank you so much. Have a great day.